Today we're going to talk about CenterView notifications and configuring the CenterView server to support the notification functionality. Using the CenterView Server Administrator, we will set up the server to support notifications. The first thing to do is to go into the notifications page of the administrator. You notice that it shows the configuration here, and many of the fields are not filled out by default. We also get some warnings instructing us that we need to fill them out before we can use notifications. We'll click the Edit field to pop up the Edit dialog. The first field to fill out is the SMTP server, and these fields will tell us how we're going to send the emails that are sent with the notifications. In this case, we're going to use the Gmail servers, which are at smtp.gmail.com and port 587. If your server requires authentication, you would fill it out here. In this case, it does, and so we will put that in. If the server requires secure connection, TLS or SSL, you also set that. In our case, we need that. The notification from address will be the email address that sends out the notification emails. In this case, we're going to use our own test email address to send those. The minimum polling frequency determines how often the notification server checks to send out the alerts. If you set this to be 10 minutes or so, even if a user says to send out an alert every 2 minutes, it will only be sent out every 10 minutes. Modifying this on a server that has a heavy load would be advised, setting it a little bit higher so that it checks less frequently. We'll save those changes, and we see that they show up here. The warnings have gone away, showing us that the server is now configured. Under the configuration area, we have a send a test notification. We're going to use that just to make sure that everything is configured correctly. And we'll send that off. We didn't get an error, so it sent correctly. We'll go over to our mailbox and notice that we sent an email. It came from this account, and we received the test message successfully. The second part of configuring the server to allow notifications is to make sure that users have email addresses. We'll go into the user page, and we notice the default Corda user does not have an email address. If your authentication scheme comes from LDAP or Active Directory, it's likely that the user will have an email address already. If not, if you're using the Corda authentication, it is good to come in and set up a user with an email address. If they do not have an email address, they will not be able to use notifications. We'll create a user here and give them their email address. Let's say add user, and we see the new user with their email address. The third part of setting up the server to support notifications is to modify the dashboard access level so that the dashboard requires login. This will enforce the user logging in so that their email address is available for sending notifications. If they do not log in, they will not be able to use notifications. So the dashboard we will be using is the stocks dashboard. I'll change the access level to logged in, click apply, and click OK. We now see that login is required on that dashboard. Now we have our server set up to use notifications. We have our email server configured. We have users with email addresses, and we have dashboards that require login.